Want some, get some.
Can I get a hell yeah?
Yes, I am a pirate.
You have to go with the pirates because, of course, they have cannons and everything.
It's a pirate's life for me.
Be proud of who you are and what you are. You're pirate.
First down. Pirates.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. Or you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I think I've ever been in a building as loud as that was. It was deafening in there.
You live with Omaha? I can promise you that. And it's purple all night long in Eastern North Carolina.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul. And I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode.
All right, welcome into TSO Wednesday night as we have a great show for you. It's like Smokey and the Bandit. We have a long way to go and a short time to get there. I'm no Jerry Reed, but I know a little bit about basketball. We'll talk about basketball with our good friend David Glenn. And first, guys, I want to say hello to Johnny Robertson. Johnny Stats, what's up, brother?
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's always fun when we have David Glenn on. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Alan Vick, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Hey, Dave. Great to have DG on. Looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I wanted to have David on, and I had no idea, even though we're going to be talking Hubert Davis, March Madness. Speaking of March Madness, this is a March Madness in the Triangle if I've never seen one. And next hour, for those of you that love baseball, of course, we're going to talk Pirate baseball. We're going to talk about the heartbreaking loss in Durham, a walk-off as the Pirates lose 9-8. We'll talk about that. We're stuck on the number 15 for some reason in baseball. We'll talk about that next hour. This hour, we're going to devote to David Glenn. We'll be talking about, as he would say, life. We're going to be talking about basketball. I'm sure about a lot of different things. And he's the legal mind. I'm not. So I have some questions for him there that I know he's already prepared for because he's a great attorney. And that's one thing I've learned, guys, is that because I'm not a perfect man, I have a lot of friends that are attorneys that maybe they can help me out when I need it from time to time. But anyway, DG, man, we wanted to have you on because of March Madness, because of basketball. And little did we know, there's two schools in the Triangle. One already doesn't have a coach in Chapel Hill. And then today I had heard, and then a couple hours ago, you had texted me, we may not have a coach in Raleigh at NC State. So what in the heck is going on? I'm just going to pitch it to you because I have my thoughts, but I want you first.
Well, it's a crazy time for sure. March Madness, I always think of as fun. It's one of my favorite times of the year because we can be the center of the college basketball universe here in North Carolina over many, many years. But I'll tell you this really quickly. Sometimes I schedule and agree to do speaking engagements months in advance. And I have a speaking engagement tomorrow morning to talk to the Cary Chamber of Commerce, crack of dawn, breakfast type thing. And when I originally agreed to this many months ago, I had no idea that Duke would still be alive in the Sweet 16. That part I predicted. But UNC would make a coaching change. That was hard to see 3 months ago. No more Hubert Davis, and they're already out there knocking on doors. And now it appears, it's not done yet, but it appears that Will Wade is leaving NC State to go back to LSU, where he previously coached and where there was a scandal and where he was booted out of college basketball entirely. Well, guess what? The McNeese State University president is now that hired Will Wade out of his time away from basketball is now the president at LSU, and LSU is trying to hire the athletic director from McNeese State. His name's Heath Schroyer that hired Will Wade at McNeese. So LSU is lining up the same president and AD that gave him the McNeese job. That was very successful, and now the Wolfpack is scrambling and trying to figure out what to do. As a story that I heard rumblings about more than a month ago is now coming to fruition. And all of these schools, the ones that are some 16 are still trying to win games, plus a handful of others. But everybody has to know that the new rules for the NCAA transfer portal, that window opens April 7th. That means you got to have a plan in place well before April 7th, because things happen quickly when that date rolls around. So Carolina wants a new coach and the right guy, but also on a short timetable. And when Will Wade leaves NC State, LSU will have a coach, whatever day that is, and the Wolfpack's going to need a new one, and quickly, because the portal is almost here. And nowadays, portal guys are more productive, generally speaking, than high school prospects. So everybody's stressed out right now, either about trying to win a national championship or coaching searches or the transfer portal, or in some cases, all of the above. It's just a wild time in college sports, college basketball, and in this case, the state of North Carolina.
Yeah. I don't blame LSU for going after McNeese's AD, because he hit another home run hiring Bill Armstrong to replace Will Wade. I think they won 28 games this year. So he's got the golden touch, I guess.
And by the way, DG, before I forget, because I know we're going to be talking about coaches and who might be coming, who might be not going to North Carolina, maybe NC State. This is the first time since 1954 that Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, and UCLA don't make the Sweet 16. Not one of them. Yep. Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, UCLA, 4 blue bloods. And they don't make it. So I thought that was.
I got another one for you. This is the first time since the early 1950s that UNC is going to hire a basketball coach who was not previously connected to UNC somehow. Because remember, Dean Smith was an assistant coach prior to becoming the head coach. And obviously, Bill Guthridge worked for Dean Smith. And after that, Matt Doherty had played for Dean Smith. And after that, Roy Williams had coached under Dean Smith. And, of course, Hubert Davis played under Dean and coached under Roy. So Carolina is going to have to go outside the family for the first time since most of us were born, since before most of us were born. And that's another example, like your 1950s stat about how eventually, all things change eventually.
Well, I had real quick a question for David about North Carolina, because I was thinking about this. I mean, I guess there's no way any of the assistants are going to, be kept, or maybe they will, but they have 5 ex-Tar Heel players as the assistants. Brad Frederick, Jeff Lebo, Sean May, Pat Sullivan, Marcus Page. I think Marcus was the only 3-time, captain of the Tar Heels. So, I mean, that's a lot of history on the bench there. Do you see any of them staying in any capacity, or
there was a lot of indigestion about axing a former player, a beloved person like Hubert Davis. Not everybody in the hierarchy had that indigestion, of course, or it wouldn't have happened. But there were a lot of voices in the room talking about this aspect of the equation, right? Hubert had a mixed bag as a head coach. He did play in the national championship game, right, in his first year. He did win an ACC regular season title just 2 years ago. That team finished in the national top 10 of the rankings just 2 years ago. So it's, most Hubert critics forget the good stuff and most of Hubert supporters forget the bad stuff. It's really a mixed bag, in all honesty. And one argument was because he and his entire staff are former Carolina players, if it's a close call, give them the benefit of the doubt, give them one more year. But they obviously went the other way. And just like they upset Mac Brown, he didn't like the way, he's not a former Tar Heel, but he didn't like the way he was treated on his way out the door when they decided to go after Bill Belichick. Hubert Davis was I can tell you this, was shocked that his job was in jeopardy. Shocked. Had no idea until less than a week ago that his job was in jeopardy. And his staff is in shock. And to answer your question, Marcus Page is viewed as an up-and-coming coach. But there's no way to know if somebody would retain any of those guys until we know who the new person is. Because some would want to have a Tar Heel on staff. It may be more than one. Others may have their own 5 guys and support staff already in mind. So it's impossible to know, but I know that Marcus Page is really well regarded in the coaching community. He's a young guy But it wouldn't surprise me if way down the road, Marcus Page goes out there, becomes a head coach. And then when we're talking about a coaching search at UNC, 10 or 20 years down the road, Marcus Page, has a chance to come back to his alma mater someday.
DG, first of all, let's get to Kenny really quick. He's saying, would Carolina go after Rick Pitino? He's too old, right?
They would not. He's in his 70s, and I believe Rick just told everybody today that his last job in basketball is St. John's. And not all coaches are that clear, right? Some of them use just kind of a lot of words to say nothing. Arizona coach Tommy Lloyd was asked about the UNC job today, and he used a lot of words but didn't deny anything. Whereas Rick Pitino said flatly, my next stop is retirement. And I don't think the Tar Heels would be interested anyway. That, most coaches are retiring in their late 60s or their 70s. So Carolina's next coach, in all likelihood, is going to be somewhere between 40 years old and 60 years old. I don't think they would hire anybody much older than that.
Yeah, I think this move that they made is going to make Coach Golden at Florida some money, though, because they're going to try to keep him. He's being rumored, but I don't think he's really a realistic option.
I'll tell you this, and again, anything can happen, but just my 2 cents, knowing a lot of people at Carolina, both Todd Golden at Florida and Nate Oates of Alabama, another name that you hear, they have enough off the court baggage that I don't believe Carolina would be interested in them. I'm not saying Carolina doesn't think they're great coaches. They are great coaches. But a combination of their large buyouts, Carolina is not a wealthy university right now by athletic standards. It's operating at a deficit. It's paying more than ever for football. There's a lot of money tied into the future of the Dean Smith Center, which is a very emotional debate at UNC Chapel Hill right now, and a very divisive debate.
Yep.
So there's a lot of money going in a lot of directions, and now they're going to have to pay the buyout for Hubert, pay the buyout for their general manager, Jim Tanner, pay smaller buyouts for others. That's going to add up to almost $10 million. You're going to have to pay the buyout of whatever coach you want to hire. And I just happen to know that both Nate Oates and Golden have buyouts of $10 million to $16 million. And that's before you pay the guy.
Yeah.
Right. So, but for off the court reasons, I don't think Nate Oates or Todd Golden are viable candidates for the Tar Heels. I do think people should keep their eyes on Tommy Lloyd of Arizona, Dusty May of Michigan, even a Billy Donovan of the Chicago Bulls. Now he is 60 years old, but he would be ready to leave the NBA. I think he's tired of the NBA. And if you're going to come back to college, where remember he won 2 national championships with the Florida Gators, if you're going to come back, it's now or never for Billy Donovan. I mean, if you're 60 years old and Carolina comes calling, one of the top 5 brands in all of college basketball, if that's not going to intrigue you, probably nothing else will. So keep an eye on Billy the Kid, but I do think there's some college guys that intrigue the Tar Heels even more.
DG, I'm going to take a trip back in time with you. We can go back to the future. I know you don't know where I'm going with this, but I know you've been covering ACC since 1987, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember a time, if you guys remember, Dean Smith retires in 1997, and it was kind of a shock, but yet not a shock, but just the timing of it, I guess. Then he had his longtime assistant, Bill Guthridge, who was pretty much, I don't know, this is my opinion, I feel like he was pushed out. Maybe I'm wrong. He said he was tired. I just looked that back up. And if you remember, it was like, oh, we're getting Roy. We're definitely going to have Roy. We push him out. We get Roy. Roy says, I'm staying in Kansas. Uh-oh. And then it was like it felt like a cattle call. And I actually like Matt Doherty. He came on our show. He was very good to us. He was very transparent of the whole situation, what happened at North Carolina. But my point is, I'm just going to say this. I'm an East Carolina guy, so I'm not a Carolina guy. I know people that know Hubert Davis. He's a great guy. And everybody goes, oh, God, here we go. I understand all the stuff that's going on. But I will tell you this. I think just the point that you made is exactly spot on, DG, as always. There's a divide with the fan base. There's the fan base that wants to get away from Dean Smith. Why in the world you would want to do that is a whole beyond me. And then let's build this new arena. It's like they're desperate. It's like I've never seen North Carolina, and it sounds like I'm hating. I'm not. I'm saying, why, if you're North Carolina, why in the world are you acting desperate? You're going, oh, if we just build this $300 or $400 million arena over here, we'll win national championships again. It's like, no, you have a whole bunch of non-North Carolina people saying, you've got a great arena in the Dean E. Smith Center. Dean Smith. Do you know who Dean Smith is? And all you have to do is renovate the Dean Smith Center, bring it up to the level it should be now in the year 2026. I remember vividly when I was thinking about this tonight before we had the show. I was 11 years old when they started building the Dean Smith Center. I'm not a Carolina guy, so the kids that were Carolina, lived near Carolina, Chapel Hill, they were telling me, "Oh man, it's going to be this big." I was like, "You're going to have a arena that big?" And they're like, "Yes." And so I remember when they were groundbreaking and all that stuff. And in January 1986, Mark Allery for the Duke Blue Devils scored the first basket. Duke lost that game, the very first game of the Dean Dome. They've had a lot of great concerts, which they need to do more of. There's a lot of stuff that they are not doing, and I could talk about my university. That's a whole separate thing. Everybody has their problems, but I really feel like, I want to get your take on this. It feels like what was I called it? You have the new people, the new arena people, and you have the renovators, I call them. And they're going to have to figure out something, because why would a coach, this is what I'm going to say, and it sounds disrespectful to UNC, and it's not. Why would I, as a coach, come there if there's a lot of turmoil, meaning they have no vision of where they're going? Some people are going in one direction. Some people are, just like you said, you're paying a whole bunch of money to Bill Belichick I heard one of our friends say on a radio show, is true. A lot of guys, when they get retired, they go to Lowe's and they put on a smock and they have a retirement job. This is like, I mean, hey, more power to him. He's getting a $10 million check a year to basically work at Lowe's. Yeah. You don't work at Lowe's.
Well, I'll tell you a couple of quick things. Number one, I know what happened at the end of the 1990s when Bill Guthridge retired. And it's a famous story now, but real quickly, Bill Guthridge retired when he retired as UNC's head basketball coach because Roy Williams had told him he would take the Carolina job in the year 2000.
Oh, wow.
And that was so divisive that Bill Guthridge, who, remember, worked on the same staff with Roy Williams under Dean Smith for roughly a decade, did not speak to Roy Williams for a period of many years. He was so mad that, in his eyes, Roy left Carolina hanging by not following through on what he said he would do, according to Bill Guthridge. Now, of course, the Matt Doherty experiment was a disaster. He was fired after 3 years, and then Roy Williams came from Kansas to rescue the Carolina basketball program. But that was an intense, crazy time. If two lifelong friends stop talking to each other for a while, that shows you how emotional that time was. What I think will solve the issue that you're describing with the 2026 challenge is that UNC's Chancellor Lee Roberts, if he is talking to a candidate that they really want for this job, he's going to say, it is not divided to the point of dysfunction. He's going to show this coach, if they move to the Carolina North site, they're going to have $20+ million a year in new revenue. And if they renovate the Dean Smith Center, they're only going to have $3 to $4 million in new revenue. And he's going to say, there's a divide in the fan base, but this is what we're going to do. It's going to be Carolina North. We're going to have this new bag of money. Some of it's going to be redirected to basketball. And oh, by the way, we all know that Belichick guy is going to retire in football in the next few years. So it is one of the top 5 public universities in the country, according to most. It is one of the 5 best brands in college basketball, according to most. Anybody who rolls their eyes at that concept has to remember there's only a few schools with 3 or more national titles in men's basketball since the turn of the century. I'm not going back to the 1950s or even the 1980s or 90s. Roy Williams himself won 3 in the last, 22 years? That's relatively recent, right? UConn's done that. Duke has done that. Carolina's done it. It ain't a long list. Florida has done it, but it's a short list. So put together a great state like North Carolina, a top 5 college basketball brand, and a chancellor and a pair of athletic directors who can answer questions like the ones you're fairly posing. That's usually enough to get at least somebody on your list of targets. But if Carolina truly gets out over its skis, we're going to know, because that year 2000 coaching search was one of the most embarrassing in the history of our state.
Right.
NC State's had an embarrassing basketball search at times over the years. That was Carolina's most embarrassing by a million miles, and it ended up on the wrong guy. They were so desperate to keep it in the family, they hired a young, emotional, volatile Matt Doherty, who had only 1 year of head coaching experience at the time, and it wasn't even a great year at Notre Dame. But they were so desperate to hire somebody who wore the uniform, they kind of forced a square peg into a round hole, and he was in over his head. And that was a disastrous situation. I mean, I broke the story that he was going to be fired. I'm the guy who wrote those articles about the dysfunctional player relationships behind the scenes. My articles were passed around at the UNC Board of Trustees as they were explaining why Matt Doherty had to be fired. I'm not kidding. I was told that by Board of Trustees members 26 years ago. So I don't believe Carolina is making the same, shoot first, ask questions later mistake. But this search will tell us the answer to that question probably within the next 7 days.
Crazy times. And I know that, by the way, Allen, Jared says, I heard Allen is in line to be the new coach at NC State. That's his son, Allen's son. So,
hey, buddy, how you doing? That's those rumors are just that, rumors, nothing more.
Hey, Allen better be taking us on some nice vacations if he's got that 7-figure payday coming.
Absolutely, you can all come with me, like the Waltons. Like the Waltons.
What about Jay Wright? We're hearing that. I don't think he's going to come out of retirement, but I mean, stranger things have happened. But I mean, great name, but I don't see that happening.
I've done due diligence. Brad Stevens isn't leaving his Boston Celtics GM job, although I am told he will return to coaching someday. But he is adamant that as long as he has any of his children still living at home, meaning pre-college age, he will not listen to anybody about anything, period. And his youngest child is still a junior in high school. So that means a couple years down the road, maybe we can think about Brad Stevens getting back into coaching, either at the NBA level or at the college level. That guy is universally respected, and he's only 49 years old, believe it or not.
Crazy.
Now, Jay Wright of the Villanova legend, the retired Villanova legend, he's almost 65 years old.
Right.
So it's now or never for Jay Wright. And I agree with your assessment, highly unlikely that – I know UNC people revere him. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a casual phone call, as Brad Stevens did. But UNC's folks knew what I knew about Brad Stevens and his youngest child. So I imagine they already know the answer to the Jay Wright situation. And they already knew the answer to the Billy Donovan question. Billy Donovan is willing to listen, even though those other two guys probably are not.
And I would imagine that no offense to Billy Donovan, because he has 2 titles from Florida. He's a basketball guy, but I just have a hard time thinking that North Carolina, he's 61 years old, early 60s. Not that people can't coach, but I don't know, man. I really, this is my honest opinion, being a non-UNC guy, and I'm truly going to keep the name of our show. I'm going to be objective here. I believe Hubert Davis should have gotten 1 more year. Not because, I can make all the arguments in the world to let a coach go. The problem is when you're reactive and you don't have a plan, and I hope they do have, for their sake, I hope they do have a plan. I just have a feeling that over the last week, David, as you know, covering that school, covering the ACC, there's a ton of pressure, man, to win at the highest level. He was 24-9. There's a lot of cases I can make for him. And another thing is here's another thing I thought about this afternoon. I think it was he that decided not to, but they didn't even go to the NIT a couple years ago when he didn't make the tournament. Roy even went to the NIT and won it. I just felt like that year was kind of like, I know it was, Kyle doesn't like the term sour grapes. but he was kind of bitter about it. They didn't make the tournament. We're not going to go at all. I don't know how you feel about that. I just thought that was a negative that I thought about this afternoon of like whether you should keep him or not.
Well, again, I could make the argument to keep Hubert or to fire Hubert. Just my lawyer's brain follows evidence, and I could build a case for either side. It is a closer call. But here are a couple things you hear from Hubert's critics all the time. In the history of UNC basketball, they have played in 50 games where they had a halftime lead in double digits in the NCAA tournament. That has happened 50 times. They won 48 of those 50 games. You know what the two exceptions are?
Hubert Davis.
Both under Hubert Davis, losing a double-digit lead to Kansas with the national championship on the line in 2022, and then losing last week to VCU to be booted in the round of 64 by a lower-seeded team. That says something about Hubert Davis as a coach, just as getting to the national title game says something good, or winning that ACC regular season title in 2024 says something good. But another layer to it might have changed your mind, Dave, maybe not if you were one of the decision makers in the room. The modern description of a college basketball coach absolutely, positively includes engaging with big money people. Hubert didn't like to do it. Hubert didn't want to do it. And Hubert sometimes begged off of it. It also requires you to be, to some degree, interactive with the media. Hubert Davis was fundamentally uncomfortable with the media. And people ask, well, how could he work at ESPN as a TV guy for so long and still be uncomfortable with the media? Here's how. When you do a studio show for ESPN or anybody else, the topics are discussed beforehand. You know the questions that are coming. It's a lot less stressful. And if you don't like a topic or you don't want a question, you say it during show prep. Don't ask me that on the air. I'm not going to answer it. That's not as stressful as post-game questions. I mean, his performance after the VCU loss was described by one longtime UNC official as the biggest train wreck of a press conference that person had ever seen in multiple decades working at UNC.
Wow.
I don't know if y'all saw it, but he was asked, why didn't you use your bench down the stretch? Now, I've been around long enough to know that's a hard question for a coach. But I've also been around long enough to know you have to have an answer. And he said, all he could say was, well, that was my decision. Well, if you're the coach, you don't want to publicly say the truth, which is I had no confidence on the 5 guys sitting on my bench because the 4 that I used earlier in this game, were zombies and giving me absolutely – you can't say that, but you have to say something. And if you're media savvy at all, you have your answer ready before you go into that game because you did use your starters for an unusual amount of time. And you did lose a 19-point second-half lead, which was the biggest collapse in the history of the NCAA tournament's first round.
Right.
I mean, I'm not making those numbers up. Like, Hubert Davis has to answer those questions. And he didn't have answers for those questions while his players are answering questions about how tired they were, the ones that were starters and playing 40 minutes. There are multiple layers where Hubert Davis was not comfortable with the modern day job description of a head coach. He had a weird relationship with his general manager. You can't have that. Like, you got to be on the same page, man. He didn't even want a general manager for a long time.
Yeah.
And then he eventually said publicly that he did want it. I'm not 100% sure if he did. And every time I asked him about, hey, coach, the GM head coach relationship works a certain way in the professional ranks, right? GMs make draft picks, not head coaches. So it's a fair question. I'm not looking for a gotcha answer. I'm not trying to expose any secrets. It's how does it work at the college level? And I'm telling you, I asked him that question 3 or 4 times and he never answered it. And I'm somebody he's known since he was 19 years old.
Right.
I mean, there's a degree of familiarity and comfortability there. If you're uncomfortable with your GM, uncomfortable with engaging with boosters, uncomfortable with the media, man, I mean, in the 1990s, Dean Smith said he retired in part because he got tired of the stuff that was, he called it the other stuff. not practice, not games, not mentoring young men, but the other stuff. He got tired of it, and he eventually retired because of it. Well, Hubert Davis is in an even more, there's way more other stuff now, and you could tell he didn't like it. Did Hubert Davis look like a happy man to you over the last 4 years? No. Not to me. He is the head coach at his own alma mater. You're making millions of dollars. You're supposed to be happy. Instead, he puts on a lot of weight. He looks unhealthy. He looks unhappy, just fundamentally unhappy. Now, did he want to keep his job in the end? He did. He made an emotional plea to keep his job. I'm writing about that at our ncsportsnetwork.com website right now. So I get it. Again, I see his positives, but I'm mentioning some of his negatives just because I don't think all of those are public. And I'm 100% sure that the things that I am mentioning went into their decision to turn the page on Hubert Davis.
Hey, I was wondering if Caleb Wilson hadn't, I know his left hand was already injured, but I guess he still might have been able to play in the tournament if he hadn't broke the right hand or his thumb while dunking the ball in practice. If he plays against VCU and they don't lose that game, they don't have the collapse, do you think he's still with the Tar Heels?
There's a chance. I will say that the Tar Heels were also embarrassed by Clemson at the ACC tournament. So, but you raise a great question, Johnny, because essentially Hubert Davis was 24-6 and ranked in the national top 25 at the time of of Caleb Wilson's second injury, the one that put him out for the season. After that, you lose to Duke in Durham, which would have happened to anybody probably. But then they were down. I mean, Clemson blew them out of the building until a late flurry. The final score was like 80-79, but I was courtside. I mean, Brad Brown doesn't even have a great team at Clemson this year. And they, I think, had a 15-plus point lead on the Tar Heels before a late flurry. So, if you only remember the final score, maybe it sounds like a close game. The Tigers thoroughly outplayed the Tar Heels for 30-plus minutes. So the last three things on people's mind are the loss to Duke, the one-and-done exit from the ACC tournament, which Hubert Davis never won, and the Heels haven't won in 9 years, or roughly 9-10 years. And then, like, the truly unprecedented loss to VCU, and then the ugly press conference afterwards. So, you're asking a what-if question that we'll never know the answer to, Johnny. My guess is that if Hubert Davis had finished strongly, won a couple games at the ACC tournament, won a couple games in the NCAA tournament, that he's still the head coach of the Tar Heels. And it does feel weird to say, wow, if Caleb Wilson hadn't gotten hurt to that degree, Hubert Davis wouldn't have lost his job. And maybe it's not that simple because of this other stuff we've described over 5 years. But
it may have just delayed things, maybe.
Yeah, and I can also tell you this. In today's, boosters have always mattered, the ones with the most money. To one degree or another, they matter. They're part of the conversation. There are now, I'm not joking when I say this, I'm not exaggerating when I say this. There are 4 to 5 people who are UNC athletic boosters who can truly make phone calls and say, if Hubert's still there, I am not renewing last year's support for this program. And if you make a change and find the right guy, I'll not only renew it, I'll up it. And I'm talking about big money. I'm talking about millions and millions of dollars. Well, if you're UNC and you're already financially stressed and you start getting those calls after that 3-game losing streak to end the season, the finances become one more layer to the equation. And, that doesn't mean, again, if Caleb Wilson doesn't get hurt and they end better, maybe those same angry boosters have a different view of Hubert Davis. Instead, he's the guy that blew the unprecedented lead against VCU, blew the unprecedented lead against Kansas with the national title on the line, recruited Kyan Evans to be a starting point guard when there's absolutely no doubt that Kyan Evans is not a starting point guard in the ACC. Misevaluation mistakes like that, coaching mistakes like that, blown leads like that, weird relationships with the media, weird relationships with boosters. Like, now we've got a multi-layered cake of why people stopped believing Hubert was the guy. It would have been way harder to fire him, though, if he had ended this season solidly. If he went to the Sweet 16, and, he's not going to get fired in all likelihood. I just couldn't see that. So you raise a great question, Johnny, and we'll just never know the answer for sure.
Hey, Dave, I have one more Hubert Davis question, and then I'm done. But this one I'm very interested in, and I know nobody would know better. Probably nobody knows the answer, but maybe David does. Have since Hubert's firing, have Dylan Mingo or Maximo Adams, their two prize 5-star recruits, have they made any statements about whether they're going to stick with Carolina or not?
I don't know for sure, but I have not seen any. I'm sure somebody communicating on behalf of UNC has said, hey, why don't you just wait to see who the new guy is? There's no downside to that. Dylan Mingo, by the way, never signed a letter of intent. He's only committed. So he that's a different situation. That's not unusual because there's signing periods, right? If you committed, then you had a chance to sign. I think it was back in December or whatever. And then the next signing period isn't here yet. But so I have no intel on that for you, but it's certainly on the Tar Heels' minds because whereas transfers are even more important nowadays, unless you have somebody like a Cameron Boozer at Duke or a Caleb Wilson at Carolina, it's transfers that are building most of these Sweet 16 teams, not freshmen. So those star freshmen still matter, but having a plan in place for the portal is probably even more important.
DG, I'm going to one of the things that I haven't had a chance to talk to you about, but we will now on air, is the Duke-North Carolina rivalry. There's a lot of people say the reason why Hubert was fired is because of Duke. The one thing I've heard from Carolina fans that drives me crazy, and I'll tell you this, is they go, well, we beat Duke and Coach K's last game under Hubert, and we beat him in the Final Four. And here's my thing. Everybody knows that's the biggest college basketball rivalry in the country, period. Nobody, if you want to, DG knows the numbers, I don't. But if you don't believe me, that's why ESPN has both games now, because they know that it brings a lot of eyeballs in. But here's the thing. You have a school 8 miles down the road that has a vision. I'll tell you what, I would have never known, so it's not like I knew anything about her. I actually bumped into her on campus in November. We bumped into each other, and I wanted to introduce myself, but she was in a hurry. But Nina King has way outperformed what I knew. She was very bright, intelligent, all that. I'm just simply saying, if you had told me that Duke would win an ACC championship in football, they've won men's basketball and women's basketball. I don't think, DG, you're the ACC expert. I don't think that's
never happened.
It's never happened.
Never happened where a single school in the same academic year won the football championship, the men's basketball championship, and the women's basketball championship. In fact, some significant research by members of my team suggests that it's only happened twice at any Power 5 schools.
Wow.
So Ohio State did it one year, and Duke did it this past year. So the Blue Devils, as we speak, are the reigning ACC champions in football, the reigning ACC champions in men's basketball. 3 of the last 4 they've gotten in men's basketball. They've gotten 2 straight in women's basketball.
Yeah. And
they're still alive, both men and women, in the NCAA tournament. So, yeah, it is a peaking athletic department. Their former AD, Kevin White, was a really sharp guy. Nina is an incredibly impressive person. And there's a lot of things that go right. Hiring the right head coaches is part of it. Carol Lawson in women's basketball, Manny Diaz in football. I mean, John Shire, you could make an argument that the Coach K to John Shire transition is the most successful handing of the baton from a legendary coach to his successor in the history of college basketball. I can't think of a better example, and I know John Shire hasn't won a national championship yet, but he's won everything else. Keeps winning ACC titles, keeps going far in the NCAA tournament, keeps winning regular season titles. I mean, keeps recruiting #1 recruiting classes. Like, they didn't miss a beat, man. And you all know that in most other situations, the guy who follows the guy doesn't do so well. In this case, the guy who follows the guy with capital letters is doing quite well in Durham in the form of John Shire.
And he represents the university so well. I mean, he's just like the perfect person you'd want as the figurehead for your program. I really enjoy.
And John is comfortable in his own skin in the way that Hubert is not.
Yeah.
And I love Hubert. I think Hubert is an off the charts, wonderful human being. If I could whisper in Hubert's ear, I would have said, just be yourself, man. Just be yourself. Instead, John Shire has maybe a better team built around him that divvies up various responsibilities. But John Shire is not at all uncomfortable in front of the media. I can promise you that. John Shire is not at all uncomfortable speaking to students, speaking to boosters, speaking to donors, speaking to advertising partners, doing the rubber chicken circuit. Like whatever he's asked to do, he'll do. And if Duke thinks it's better delegated to somebody else, they'll delegate it to somebody else. But Duke has been ahead of the curve, Dave. To your point, Duke has been more proactive. UNC has been more reactive.
Right.
And the Blue Devils are in a great place. And the Tar Heels are in a complicated place. They still have a lot going for them as an athletic department, but they are in a lesser place than Duke, no doubt about it at the moment. And they need to get this basketball hire right to close that gap.
Yeah. Carolina's also, I'm sorry, Dave, one final thought. Carolina's also was losing top talent that transferred. And that whole R.J. Davis and Caleb Love incident, that was under Hubert. And then, they keep having Elliot Cadeau went to Michigan. Like Duke, I don't think I can remember Duke losing top level talent like that. They just decided to go to another, university.
They do lose guys. Jeremy Roach ended up at Baylor and Mark Mitchell ended up at Missouri. And they do, but it's usually they lose the guys that they don't mind losing, right? Whereas, Elliot Cadeau was the starting point guard and would have been the starting point guard again. Instead, the Heels have a very awkward point guard situation this past year. Whereas when Mark Mitchell left or Jeremy Roach left or somebody else left, Duke already knew that they had guys behind them who were just as good, if not better. So, again, it's a mixed bag because Hubert, on the one hand, deserves a lot of credit. Brady Manick was an incredible incoming transfer on that national championship game team. This year, Henry Vessar guy barely started for 3 years at Arizona, and he blossoms into a superstar in 1 year at Carolina. So that check goes into Hubert Davis's plus column, right? Same with Cormac Ryan and Harrison Ingram on that ACC regular season championship team 2 years ago. Those were great finds in the portal who played their best basketball for Hubert Davis, not at their previous school, but only under Hubert Davis. So you can build a list of those success stories. But on the other hand, watching the Sweet 16 this week, you'll get to see Cadeau for a number 1 seed Michigan team. You'll get to see Ian Jackson for Rick Pitino at St. John's, and another outgoing Carolina transfer. And there's other stories like a Cade Tyson, the guy who was a superstar at Belmont, comes to Carolina and does nothing, and then goes to the Big Ten and is a star at Minnesota. So there are fair questions about why was the guy great at his previous school and his subsequent school, but was invisible during his 1 year in Chapel Hill. Like, again, we could make lists of both. An honest assessment of Hubert's resume is a mixed bag. And for every great example that turned out well, you could give an example that reflects poorly. But that's what made it such an interesting dilemma as the Tar Heels had to make a decision this past weekend.
David, do you think it's fair to say maybe in 2026 that the Carolina way doesn't work like it did for all those years?
Yeah, I think at the very least they have to tweak the Carolina way, right? I think it's fascinating, for example, that whereas Mike Krzyzewski stocked his staff with his former players, not entirely, but over and over and over, right? Chris Collins and Steve Wojciechowski and Johnny Dawkins and John Shire himself and Nolan Smith and on and on. What in the modern era, because times have changed, John Shire has strayed from that, right? And most of the guys on his staff are not former Duke players. And that means John Shire wants more voices from more corners of the basketball universe. And if there's a great recruiter out there that's not in alignment with Duke values, whatever John Shire lists as his values, but doesn't have a Duke diploma or didn't wear the Blue Devil uniform, he's not excluding people because of that. And Carolina sometimes is so married to its past that it can become a negative. And, I've said to people at Carolina, including Hubert Davis, there's nothing wrong with saying things that Dean Smith said, like, hey, you should want to play for the name on the front of your jersey, meaning UNC, instead of the name on your back of your jersey, meaning your last name. Like, those things are old school, and some people might think they're corny. I don't think there's anything wrong with still saying them or believing them. But you have to evolve into the new world where, hey, there are going to be more one-and-done transfers. There are going to be more one-and-done high school superstars. There are going to be more guys leaving your program. Money is a bigger issue, right? You need a general manager to negotiate deals with your recruits. Like, that's a new thing. And you can either hate it and pout about it or be bad at it, or you can say, hey, this is the way it is, and I better figure out a smart way forward. And I'm not sure Carolina's the Carolina way has made those tweaks and adjustments where, heck, all of us in our lives, what are we trying to do, right? We're trying to keep the stuff that has worked and is healthy and is productive, and we're trying to make changes to the stuff that has led to inadvertent detours or missteps or problems or crises. We're all trying to learn, but, you can't stay the same. And the best advice at Carolina, to answer your question, is to keep the parts of the Carolina way, however you define that you think are still helpful, and change the parts that need to change, because, as we've discussed on you guys' show in the past, there has been as much change in college sports in the last 5 years as there were in the previous 50 years combined. That's how quickly this world has been changing, with the transfer portal, name, image, likeness, immediately eligible transfers, revenue sharing. We're only 1 year into revenue sharing. Like, these things are new, man. And they have changed the college basketball world. Carolina's done some things to adjust to it, but not nearly as much as Duke. And that's one of the things that I think it's been holding the Tar Heels back.
I was going to mention, DG, that this came to mind today, and I hope, again, not putting down North Carolina at all, but the way that I describe, and this is probably unfair, but you can have at me if I'm off base. I describe North Carolina, if you look at a business model, as cable television or a shopping mall from, like, the 80s. They both exist, but they still? Carolina is relevant. I'm not saying they're not relevant, but at the level, the expectation that the fans want to be in Final Fours, cutting down nets, and where they are now is not the same. That's why I came up with the analogy of a shopping mall or cable television. You still have them, but are they relevant?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I brought up the point earlier, 3 national titles in the last 20 or so years for the Tar Heels in men's basketball. They win national titles in other sports. They're a top 5 public university in the entire country. Not my opinion, but the opinions of a lot of people who study such things. So there's still a lot going for them. But it's also been a dysfunctional place at times. And whereas, in our state, for example, at a private university, you don't have an overwhelming influence. You're impacted by the state legislature at a private university, but you're not as intensely impacted or impacted in as many ways. And there are plenty of examples, including the hiring of Bill Belichick, where, senators were involved and the state legislators were involved. And there has been political division on the UNC Board of Trustees. I mean, intense political division. And we all know how intense and negative and hateful the political division is in our country. Well, a lot of that has bled into the UNC hierarchy. And they had a great chancellor named Kevin Guskiewicz. He left because he was tired of the hateful political nonsense. Well, what happens when you chase out good leaders? it's a top-down problem. You guys know ECU better than I do. When you have a great president or chancellor and a great athletic director, you know what usually happens? It trickles down, and lots of good stuff happens. It's not perfect, but good things tend to happen. And if you chase away your best coaches, athletic directors, university chancellor or president, bad things tend to happen. And Carolina has become a politically charged. A member of the board of trustees ran a renegade coaching search as the athletic director, who traditionally handles such things, was ready to hire somebody else. That's weird. Chasing away a university chancellor who leaves for Michigan State just because he's tired of the BS, that's bad. That's not a healthy environment. And those are some of the things that have happened at Carolina in this period where, let's remember prior to COVID, Carolina was doing a lot of great things. I mean, Mac Brown had football going a little bit even after COVID. And, Roy Williams had a really good year before COVID. Hubert had the national title game year in 2022. Hubert wins the regular season title in 2024. It's not like everything has come apart at the seams. There's still a top 10 athletic department in the entire country in, things like the Directors Cup and such similar things that combine all the different sports and the success in those sports. So the sky is not falling in Chapel Hill, but they've had enough complications from the top down, enough dysfunction and political infighting from the top down that they're having a hard time agreeing on most things. And that has contributed to the Tar Heels kind of fall from their peak.
I know we have just a few minutes with you left. I did want to make one point. A few years ago, I read an article about a group of Duke grads who started a venture capitalist group. I think they may have been in the company started, I think, in Delaware, but they're the ones that were helping get a lot of money for the Duke basketball players because they were, I wouldn't say they were way ahead of their game, but when it comes to ACC or UNC, they were ahead of the game as far as this is the way. And I know that, by the way, I want to bring in Craig here. I know we have to get on the train, but it doesn't mean I like the destination. Absolutely, Craig. I agree with you 1,000%. It's like I mentioned this before. I love the Bellamy Brothers. They had a song called "The Old Hippie." Should I hold on to hang on to the old, or grab on to the new? I love that group. But anyway, that's the way I feel. I have to grab onto the old. If not, we're going to be irrelevant. We're not going to be relevant. So my point is like with the Duke situation, they have, whether it's been luck, I would say they had the vision. They saw that this thing is heading in this direction. Coach K, I know, left. A lot of the reasons why he left is because he didn't want to have to deal with this anymore. And anyway, I did want to, before we let you go, DG, I did want to ask you, because we had you on originally for the idea of March Madness and the Final Four. I did have one more stat for you, DG.
Lay it on me.
All right. I don't know if you guys know this, but Duke has won 5 titles. Every single title, they played St. John's and they beat them to make it to whatever round it was in.
Yeah.
They have St. John's as one of those 6 wins, and they're playing St. John's on Friday night.
Wow.
I that's a Johnny stat for you. When I saw
that's
that
impressive,
is a fun fact. I had seen that one. I don't have Duke winning the bracket. I actually, because I follow the ACC closely and know those teams better than any other teams around the country, I've actually been almost exactly right with predicting ACC teams and how far they'll go. The rest of the bracket, maybe not quite as clean for me, but I have Arizona winning it all. But I also think there's probably 5 or 6 other teams that could win it all. Duke is on that list. Michigan is on that list. Our old friend from the great state of North Carolina, Kelvin Sampson, who's getting up there in years at this point, but 70-year-old head coach of the Houston Cougars, a number 2 seed. I think they have a legitimate chance. That's what makes this stuff fun, because as much as I think Arizona has the best team, Duke has enough to win. I mean, they have the National Player of the Year in Cameron Boozer, but could a really well-coached, really strong defensive St. John's team led by Rick Pitino, could they shock the Blue Devils even as the lesser team? I don't think they will, but could they? They could. Of course they could. one of Duke's, heck, Duke barely survived Siena in the round of 64. That was a hairy game, man. We're this close to talking about Duke as only the third number 1 seed ever to lose to a 16 seed. Now, they survived that game, but really cold shooting combined with so-so point guard play. Those are concerns for Jon Scheyer moving forward. And the bottom line is the Devils are going to have to be a better version of themselves than they were on the first weekend, where TCU hung with them for the first half before getting blown out. Siena hung with them until their starters ran out of gas because they didn't use any reserves just in the final minutes.
That sounds familiar.
But bottom line, guys, legends like Dean Smith and Mike Krzyzewski sometimes did win it all when they did not have the best team.
Correct.
And at other times did not win it all when they did have the best team. Yeah. That's just how this stuff goes sometimes. That's why nobody ever has a perfect bracket. And that's why, as much as I believe it'll be Arizona, you couldn't talk me into like Iowa winning it all out of the Sweet 16. There's several others you couldn't talk me into believing, but there are definitely 5 or 6 teams that could cut down the nets, and that unpredictability factor makes it more fun.
Could Caleb Foster return, or is it even in the realm of possibility?
Jon Scheyer said this week that there's a possibility we were originally told you won't see Caleb Foster until the Final Four, if at all, assuming Duke makes it that far. Now, Caleb Foster has apparently followed the doctor's orders. I saw him there at the ACC tournament. He's wearing this big boot, being careful to keep his weight off of that foot. Jon Scheyer said publicly this week there's an outside chance that we see Caleb Foster Friday night. But I'll say this, when Patrick Gongba, Duke's starting center, came back from his injury, he didn't look right. His timing was off. You could tell his conditioning wasn't exactly the same. The chemistry with your teammates just isn't the same when you're not practicing all the time together. So, Caleb Foster could be part of an improved point guard rotation with Caden Boozer. Good news for Duke is Caden Boozer is a lot better now as a point guard than he was 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago. So he's maturing late in his freshman year. So again, Duke's led by the best player in the country, and that gives you a chance. But I'm just not sure this will be Jon Scheyer's national championship team. In fact, I'll be a little surprised if it is.
DG, quick question. What happens first? NC State loses a coach or Carolina finds a coach?
That's a good one. I'm going to guess that NC State loses Will Wade before Carolina announces its new coach. Okay. And that's a hard one in part because for those who don't know, Will Wade's buyout at NC State changes on April 1st. So LSU technically has an incentive to wait until April 1st to officially hire him, although everybody knows they've been talking. And some people believe Will Wade to LSU is a done deal and that the Wolfpack should move on to their next target. But so that part of the equation complicates the timetable. UNC wants somebody as soon as possible for reasons of planning for the transfer portal, for reasons of talking to those guys who had been committed to Hubert Davis, for reasons of building an assistant coaching staff. And that April 7th transfer portal opening is a huge date. And again, you can't start planning on April 6th. You got to have a plan way ahead of time. So the Tar Heels keep saying that finding the right person is the most important thing, and we'd all agree with that. But there's some pressure to make it happen quickly. And when some of your targets are still coaching, that complicates Carolina's timetable, right? If you really want Tommy Lloyd of Arizona, and maybe he has secretly said that he'll come, well, you either got to wait until after this weekend or you got to wait until after the Final Four if he makes it that far. So, and he's not the only candidate, obviously, but I know he's high on the Tar Heels wish list. And wouldn't it be fascinating if he was the guy? But I don't know, man. It's not easy to do what these guys are trying to do. That Jay Lucas story from Duke last year, leaving early so he could start building Miami ahead of time. There's a lesson in there. And you know how coaches are so competitive. They're not going to abandon their current team that has poured out their blood and sweat and tears for the last 6 months. Even if they know they're going to take another job, they're going to give their current team every last drop of their attention and energy and effort as they can. And it makes this stuff really messy. There are coaches, guys, by the way, that will field these conversations while trying to win a national championship. They're all wired differently. Some of them will say, don't you dare interrupt me. Talk to my agent if you have to, but don't you dare expect to talk to me personally while I'm trying to win a national championship. You could actually alienate a candidate by being too aggressive that way. Now, most of them will say, yeah, talk to my agent, whatever. He'll give me updates. But others will just speak as freely as you and I are speaking right now. Yeah, I got to win a game Thursday night, but tell me what you have to offer at Chapel Hill. Like that, everybody's different. And that's what makes this coaching carousel so crazy.
All right, so we're at the hour mark. I promised you we'd keep you there. I know you're very busy covering. This is one of his busiest times with basketball, NCAA, and recruiting a whole bunch of. Speaking of which, how can people get in contact with the socials and listen to your show? And hopefully one day we have you back on. I know you won't probably agree to that, but.
Yeah, of course I'll be back. Yeah. The website is ncsportsnetwork.com. And that there's a button there that if you click watch, takes you to our YouTube channel. We're at almost 70,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is an insanely high number. And we thank people. It's free to subscribe if they want to check it out. If you like the audio version, you just click listen and it takes you to all of our podcasts. And if you like our old school articles, you just click read and it takes you to all of our website material. And on socials, I'm at David Glenn Show. And then the company is at the NC Sports Net. So THENC Sports NET. We're all over the socials with that handle. I'm mostly on Twitter with that David Glenn Show. So enjoy interacting with folks there from time to time, and certainly enjoy cranking out video and audio and article content pretty much every day.
Awesome.
Well, my friend, it was a quick ride because we thought we were going to be talking about more about the tournament, but there was definitely two stories that we had no idea when I first reached out to you last week that it was definitely going to be more fruition, including one out of two. So we'll keep following that. Thank you, DG, so much for your time.
Thanks, David.
We appreciate it. We'll see you again.
Great to be with you, all of you guys. Johnny, Alan, Dave, great to see y'all. And give me a ring anytime. I'm happy to join.
Hey, David, can I throw one more thing out there before you go? You don't have to answer me. This is just my observation. How crazy, talk about interesting, how crazy is it going to be in Baton Rouge if Will Wade goes there with Lane Kiffin and Kim Mulkey? Those three coaches.
That is the script for a sitcom. I mean, seriously.
Oh, Lord.
That is a cartoonish picture, but it just might happen. And for anyone who's been to Baton Rouge, that's a nice setting for that kind of crazy behavior.
Can't wait.
3 times. Been there 3 times. Good stuff. Thank you, my friend.
David.
It's Mardi Gras every day, man. If those get together.
Chris, thank you.
Guys.
See you, buddy.
See you, David. Thank you, man.
See you, Dave.
All right, DG, for people that were wondering, they're like, why in the world are you going to be talking about that? Because we were actually going to talk to Ed Allen and welcome in Justin Butts, Wildfire. We got people asking about you, Wildfire, so appreciate you here. Basically what we said is we'll make the first hour about non-baseball stuff, and now we're going to transition into
Dave, are you muted?
No, I'm not muted. Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yep, I hear you fine.
Johnny, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
All right. Yeah, Justin, I don't know if you need to go out and come back in, but I can hear myself.
I believe David is muted.
No, I'm not.
Nope.
You need to go out and come back. But anyway, I'll keep talking because we're doing a live show.
Yeah, try going out and coming back in.
Okay.
Justin.
Hey, Dave, I need to take a real quick break. I got to let my dog in. I'll be right back.
Go for it. You're the dad. Yeah, you're the dad for those dogs. Take care of them. I have Alan Vick still here with me.
Who let the dogs in?
Yeah, a new song, Alan Vick. But anyway, we wanted to have the first hour about March Madness. I didn't know that. I knew there was a chance about the whole Hubert Davis thing last week, but I still had planned on just talking about March Madness. I honestly thought they would keep him for another year, like I said. So I didn't even, until yesterday when I first started hearing about that it was going to be a done deal, then I said, hey, ask DJ about it. But anyway, let's talk baseball. Obviously, those of you that we have, for those of you who don't know, we probably don't care to know, but we have a group chat, a group text. And man, that was one of the most depressing group chats that we've ever. Y'all are like
what are you talking about, Dave?
Group. It was not like a fun group chat like we normally have. It was more like, what in the heck just happened? So I wanted to go around the panel right now to you guys and get your thoughts, because I will tell you this. I don't normally have like the 24-hour hangover kind of thing, but I'm still in disbelief. I'm still in shock how that all transpired. Talking about the walk-off Duke had 9-8. Hey, give them credit. You tip your hat to them, but obviously we're not happy with that, but life goes on. We'll be talking about the UTSA series, but we need to break down, look back. I don't know how much we can look back because it makes me sick to my stomach. But let's go.
It's a good thing, Dave, I did not watch the game last night. Thank God.
All right. Well, we'll talk about umpires and different things with you, Alan, Vic, or Johnny.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah. I know that you had some games going on, didn't you, Justin? To be fair.
Yeah, to be fair, I actually was at my former high school last night in a 24-0 ball game. So my game was just as horrible as that was last night. So,
who wants to go first? I know y'all are talking over each other right now. You want to talk about that walk-off last night? I see how in Durham how excited Alan Vic is. So for people listening to the podcast, am I going to volunteer you first?
Well, I can tell you, grown men do cry.
Yes.
Yes.
I just absolutely. We were chatting back and forth, and Kyle was talking about what a great win this would be if we could hold on. I did a couple things, and I got back to the game, and I got back into it as it was happening, and it was just I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or pass out. Not necessarily in that order. It was just it was gut wrenching. It was just absolutely a gut punch.
Johnny, I want to get your take, and then eventually we'll move on because we have more things to talk about, and I don't know how much.
Yeah, I don't know how much I can stomach of this game anyhow. I watched it all, though. I mean, I know what happened and all that. Pitching will just kind of skip the pitching. It just nobody really. Ethan Rose, he did fine. He pitched 4 innings, only gave up 1 run. Gavin Marley really did okay as well, except for, a couple pitches, which made a huge difference. And you can say the same for Charlie Hoagland. I saw good things in all of them. Nick Moran, I was really rooting for him because we need someone to step up. And I think Nick still can be that guy. But, they were talking about he had soreness in his forearm a couple days ago. So I wasn't even sure we'd see him. He did start, went 2 innings, allowed 3 runs, but it just it wasn't our night from the mound. And as far as hitting wise, I mean, we could have easily won this game. Obviously, the 7, 8, 9 position. I've been talking about that a lot. 7, 8, 9 position in the lineup, really producing better than the 1, 2, 3. And that continued last night. But the 7, 8, 9, it changes every game. This time it was Colby, Walker Barron, and Nick Parham. And they scored 6 of the 8 runs themselves. And then you had Davin Whitaker, who I've been talking about. He batted cleanup for the first time. And, he delivered. He went 2 for 3 and had 2 walks. So he was on base 80% of the time. The problem is nobody in front of him really was getting on base. I mean, Grady hit a home run, and so but that didn't give him an opportunity to knock in any runs. So hitting we were okay. We need to get better at the top of the lineup. 1, 2, 3. Austin Irby's in a serious slump. I won't go into detail, but. I mean, of everybody on our roster, Austin Irby, I have faith in just as much. There's nobody I have faith in more than Austin Irby. And the fact of the matter is, everybody has a point in the season where they go through the slump. I'd rather Austin Irby be slumping right now and get over it quickly, like this weekend, and we'll be fine. So, it was painful to watch. We gave up 3 leadoff walks, and all 3 of those leadoff walks resulted in a run. Anytime you do that, it's trouble. When you give, I think we scored twice on leadoff walks. It's just bad news. And then, that home run, I knew it was coming. I just knew that was coming. I just had bad karma the way things were going when we started off that 9th inning. And it was not just disappointing. I was like nauseous. And I'm not even like trying to overemphasize. I felt sick when we lost that game. And I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to even, I didn't watch any I didn't do anything. I was sick. But the good news is the Duke game really didn't kill us because it was on the road. Duke's RPI is not very good though. So, I mean, we did get dinged up for, I think, 40 points. But man, we have UTSA, and we'll talk about UTSA. I won't get into that now, but it's a good chance for a rebound. So all was not lost.
So Kenny has a question that's been kind of the elephant in the room. So it comes to our baseball.
Oh, team. Jenkins?
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody knows the answer to that. I don't. Obviously, he wasn't available. He didn't look like he was available. I don't know.
Yeah,
was that the question that was going to be asked when Cliff to the media kind of did what he did? Was that what was going to be asked?
No, you know what? I told Bubba, I stuck up for Cliff after I listened to the interview. Initially I didn't listen to it. I turned the TV off, but then I did listen to it after Bubba was telling me about it, and I stuck up for Cliff only because he'd already addressed the fact that we left 13 runners on base. Yeah. And he said that you're not going to win games like that. And then, a reporter from 24/7, one of Igo's guys, who's a great dude. I mean, he had every right to ask the question, but I mean, I think at that point, if it was me, I would have elected not to ask that question since Cliff just said, we left 13 guys on base, but he said, well, what about the 13 runners left? And then Cliff just kind of very abruptly ended the whole thing and kind of ripped his earphones or his earbuds, whatever you want to call it, out and walked away. And that I didn't like that part of it. I did not like that part of it.
Let me tell you about, and Alan and I have experience, and this is what Johnny and I talked about. Is it okay if I talk about it, Johnny?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I want to be fair. Now, there are some coaches, even Cliff included, that they go after someone for no reason. That's not right. But here is what is right. And I'll just say this because I have Alan's only been in the business a few years, and I've been in there like one, but try a few decades. But anyway, what you need to do is trust yourself enough as a reporter to pay attention. That tells me when somebody does that, that's why Cliff got mad, because they were not paying attention and they're not doing their job. I'm sorry if I've hurt anybody's feelings, and I'll talk to them off the air about it. I'm not trying to crush them. This is a teachable moment for that reporter. What you're supposed to do is you have a whole bunch of questions in mind. How was the hitting tonight? You already have generic ones if you've been doing it for 100 years, like I have, like 10. I'm not saying I'm God's gift. Let me be very careful. I'm not God's gift to baseball. I'm not God's gift to reporting. Just ask the administration. But that's why he got mad. He got mad because if you have a law, and Justin, I know you can attest to this, and Alan, Johnny, we've all had moments in our lives where we don't want to be dealing with something, but we know we have to. In this case, Cliff talking to the media when they had the game in their hand, in the palm of their hand, right? So then you go to something you don't want to do, okay? And I will stand up for the media any day when it comes to, if it's Cliff Godwin, Mike Shasha, whoever. But you've got to pay attention. You've got to have enough. Interviewing is not easy, but it's really difficult if you don't use your 2 years. God gave you 2 ears and one mouth, right? You always hear that. You've got to have active listening. And I swear to you, I haven't talked to Cliff. Obviously, I'm not close friends with Cliff or anything like that. But I will, and he's a grown man. He can defend himself. But I'm just going to tell you, and Alan can back me up on this. How many times has he praised the media? He says, thank you for so much attention. He talks about all the time that he knows how there's times he can paraphrase him, but he can be difficult to deal with. I appreciate his transparency. And I know maybe people didn't like that, but when you are a college coach, you've got the pressure of being speaking of, we were talking about Hubert Davis last hour. Cliff Godwin's got the pressure of being at his alma mater, and he wants to take us to Omaha, right? And he knows that these wins, we need them, right? So I don't have, and I don't want to go on a tirade.
So Dave, how many people want Cliff Godwin to coach at their school? We are lucky to have Cliff Godwin right now. Yeah. You look at South Carolina's got to open it. How many people have mentioned in the media that they want Cliff Godwin or Nick or Snodzel over there at Coastal Carolina? We are lucky to have Cliff Godwin to East Carolina, guys. I don't care what he says. Look, after a tough loss like that, look, I want to give Cliff Godwin the benefit. What he said, I think the way he handled it probably shouldn't have. But after a tough loss, I expected that. Cliff Godwin loves East Carolina. We are lucky to have Cliff Godwin. And, guys, let me tell you something. If this was football and we've had a coach like Cliff Godwin on football, we're lucky to have him. So enjoy it, guys.
And let me add this too. I told Johnny this, and Alan, you have been around, and you've been around me for a long time. God help you. But here's the thing. Do you want Cliff Godwin after that loss last night to just be casual, give you coach answers, coach speak? The fan base would be out of their minds if you have a situation like that. So you be careful how you criticize Cliff, because he was doing exactly what we were feeling.
Yeah,
exactly.
Two things. It was a tough loss, probably one of the toughest regular season losses we've had in a long time.
Right.
First of all. Secondly, I don't know the young man that asked the question. I'm sure he's a great young man, but you have to be able to read the room.
That's
the big thing. You have to be able to read the room. And I'm not criticizing the young man, because I think what he wanted was a little bit more detail, and it just was not going to happen. Now, I would hope, I will say this, you may disagree with this. I would hope that if Cliff Godwin sees this young man again somewhere in the next few weeks, he would pull him aside and say, hey, look, dude, I'm sorry. It was tough. I was emotional. No, it's nothing personal. Please, I'm sorry, and that's the end of it. I would hope he would do that.
Great call, Alan. Great call.
Yeah.
And I believe Cliff Godwin's that kind of dude that would do that too.
Yeah.
I mean, Cliff's that way, man.
Yeah. Let me tell you, there's only one time that I was dumb enough to ask a dumb question. And I'll tell you right now on the air. It was during COVID. It was this time of year. And I made some silly remark about what were the players doing? Were they going to go see the Easter Bunny or some stupid thing? I couldn't even believe I said it. And I'm embarrassed I'm embarrassed to admit it to you guys here on the air and all our friends listening right now. I was just like, okay, he's going to give it to me. As soon as I said that stupid, I didn't think. Usually I think before I ask a question, right? And I saw the look on his face, and thankfully he might have been in a good mood, or he's like, Richmond doesn't normally ask dumb questions like this. And I normally ask him about different things, but that was the only time in the history of Cliff Godwin baseball that I've been associated with that I was like, okay, I deserve it. I deserve the wrath of Cliff right now, because it was a dumb remark I made. I was trying to be funny. It was not funny at all. And I wish I could take that back. You can't. But anyway, that as far as
I had a moment like that with Ruffin McNeil back in it had to be 2013. No, 15. It was the year he got let go. We were meeting media day on a Monday, in the afternoon, and I asked him something about the running back at Tulane. I didn't phrase it exactly right, and he didn't dress me down, but he dressed me down. And I went back and I listened to it, and I saw Ruffin about a week later walking down Charles Boulevard. I stopped and I apologized for the way I phrased the question, and I also said, Coach, please don't do that again. If you have something with me personally, talk to me personally. Don't dress me down and embarrass me in front of my colleagues. That's just not the way to do it. And it was my fault and his. So he agreed. We shook hands, smiled, and that was the end. So I felt like I needed to address that personally, but I did it away from everybody else with Ruff.
And let me go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I'm just saying, it was my fault. I didn't phrase the question correctly, but he didn't handle it correctly either. So we were both wrong. We both admitted we were wrong. I love Ruff, and he probably doesn't know me from a can of beans now, but I did go to him man to man and say, look, man, I didn't appreciate the way you did that.
If he comes up to you and say, what's up, brother?
Yeah. I mean, we smiled and laughed. He was walking, when he lost all the weight, he was walking. I actually parked my car and went to him and explained, why I was upset with what he did. We were cool, and we never had a cross word after that. Never.
So that's the thing, is that things are going to happen. I did want to say too that those of us, we're in a unique position with being Pirates because we went to school there. We have an interest there. Our family went there, whatever the case may be. So anybody that would think that we're trying to, and I'm not saying that there's anything going on right now. I'm just generically saying, since we're on this topic, don't mistake, I've been wanting to say this for weeks. Don't mistake passion for anger. Everybody that's on this show right now, whether you're listening to the podcast when it's an archive, whether you're participating live, we got the best fans in America. Then the bottom line is, I will tell you guys off the air, I won't say it. I was going to say it earlier and I decided not to. But let's just say I've given a lot of money to the Pirate Club, right? I'm not bragging, but it doesn't matter if you've given $1, if you're a season ticket holder, if you buy at the concession stand or the merch stand, you're helping us out, right? We have a budget, guys, of $52 million. $52 million. We are not running a deficit, to my knowledge. I think we're $1 million to the good. So again, please, everybody that's at the Ward Sports Medicine Building, tell John Gilbert I am not anti him. I'm not anti Ryan Robinson. I do think it's fair if we do this show, we can't say that it's sunshine if it's raining, right? And so that was just like we're talking about baseball right now. Let's get back to baseball.
Yeah,
that was tough. That was really tough. Let's see. There's people that are saying in our chat that the media shouldn't have been treated that way. I'm sorry, but
I agree with that too, though. I do agree with that. And I hope that I think this is going to get back to him. It is. I mean, this is some strong pushback on this, probably stronger than I think is necessary. But some people were really, really taken aback by that. But, I'll just say this as quickly as I can. On Fridays, when we have a home series, I go out to the jungle at 8:30, put my chairs out, and Cliff is already in his office. And then, after the games are over, we hang out watching other games on TV in front of, in the Burt family lot. And a lot of times we leave after 10 o'clock. Cliff is still there. I don't see any other vehicles parked anywhere near there, just him. So, I mean, the guy is giving everything he has to this university. And I did get to, I feel funny even saying this, but I was talking to Colby's dad after the first Pitt game that we 10-run ruled them. And Cliff walked over and I just, held my hands out, my arms out, and he bear hugged me. And I was like, this is a guy that is genuinely a very caring, individual that appreciates, the people that surround him. I just wish he would understand that these people asking these questions are on his side, and they're just trying to get as much information as possible to the people that are following his team. And I really hope that he gets that message and he changes a little bit going forward.
Right. I will say this. That's true. Okay. That's true. But if you're in the member of a media, you also know, Alan said it best, read the room, right? You know when things are not right, when you know the questions you can ask and the ones you can't. The other thing I would say too, for Cliff's benefit, is there are people of the media that come here for I'll give you an example. Channel 7, we had a guy a few years ago, and I can't remember his name. He's a good guy, but he asked Cliff a few years ago, he said something like, we almost, got swept for we had lost, I think, 1 or 2 games, right? We almost got swept, for the Keith LeClaire Classic, right? And Cliff goes, but we didn't. And the guy, you remember that, Alan? I think you were.
Was it Patrick Mason?
I do.
No,
it was not Patrick. No,
Patrick had his moments with Cliff, but it was not. That was unfair for, I think.
He wasn't Channel 7, was he?
But anyway, he brought it up again. Like you already saw that Cliff was upset by that question. He said, "But we didn't," and he gave him a look, right, knowing that, okay, let's move on. Let's talk about other things. So, going back to what we were talking about, I didn't plan to spend all this time on this, but for people to understand, I understand what they're saying, but at the same time, Cliff is damned if he does. If he doesn't do anything, he looks like he doesn't care, like he's just aloof, and he cares because he's a very competitive person, and that's his alma mater. He's a local dude. He's from Greene County, from Snow Hill, right, Justin?
You talk about guys that are uncomfortable or uncomfortable dealing with the media, and we won't. And I'll just leave it. Look at Steve Logan.
Oh my
nobody was more uncomfortable, in my opinion, when he was the head coach at East Carolina dealing with the media. He didn't like it. He didn't want to do it. He would rather take a beating than deal with the media. But he did it, and look what happened. Steve Logan has become a member of the media and has one of the best radio shows, in my opinion, in the nation.
Yes, he does.
It's awesome.
So it's an amazing metamorphosis of not wanting to deal with the media and then realizing that, hey, this is maybe where I want to be. And I think Logan's a great example. I used to engineer his radio shows.
Yeah, we did.
I know what it took to finally break the ice with Steve Logan 2 years into engineering that radio show. He would come in and not speak and grunt and whatever. And I finally one day just, started talking about blues music or whatever. And from that point forward, he was a completely different guy.
There's 2 things you talk about with Steve Logan is study up on your wine. He loves wine and he loves blues music. So say, like I love this. I could go on, and even though I'm not as in deep love with the blues music, I do love blues, but I could definitely hang a little bit with him. A lot better with the blues than the wine. But anyway, I will tell you this story too. Steve Logan had this persona that he thought that he had to have being a football coach at East Carolina University, like this John Wayne look. He had this look like if looks could kill, right? So he knew when the red light was on. Alan, you could attest to this, even when we were at Cable 7 doing the show. He knew that if he saw that red light, that he had to have that tough guy look, that bravado,
Right.
But then when we were in commercial breaks, Alan, tell him he was.
Well, he was a different guy. Like I said, once I broke the ice, I'm just talking about my personal experience. It was completely different from that point forward.
And the other thing is, he didn't have. You have to understand that when he's doing the show now, he's a very intelligent individual. Steve Logan is. He won a ton of games at East Carolina. He knows the West Coast offense probably as good as Bill Walsh. But I will tell you guys that was the weirdest thing. Our friend Al, Pirate Al, Johnny, and Alan Bacon, Justin knows Pirate Al. It'd be funny. He never called. I don't think he ever called him Pirate Al. He goes, "Well, Al," he would do all that. And then it's like, dude, like Pirate Al is he is a great human being. And Pirate Al is one of the best fans out there because The thing about Pirate Al and a lot of our fans, and I'm not patronizing those of you listening or watching, they're extremely knowledgeable, okay? And I have never come on this show pretending like I know everything about pirate sports. That's not why I started the show. I don't have to feed my ego. I don't have to have the guys say, "Oh, Dave, you're so great. You know so much about pirate, blah, blah, blah." I don't care about any of that. But Al knows his stuff, man. He knows his stuff. He's a really good dude. I like Pirate Al very much. Back then, I didn't know him other than him calling in. And it's been cool over the last 10, 20 years. I've got a chance to know him. And he's a really good guy. Not that he needs me to be on my show saying that. But it was just a really tough experience I wanted people so badly. I don't know about you, Alan. I've never asked you this publicly or privately. I wanted so badly for people to see the real Steve Logan, because I was like, if you saw the real Steve Logan, the guy is one of the most charming people you will ever meet. He's really funny. He's extremely intelligent about a lot of different things, more than just wine and booze. That's probably two of his favorite things, but that was really hard for us to watch that.
Yeah, but I'm so glad that we got a chance to see Steve Logan away from the pressure of being the head football coach. And I think it means a lot to see Cliff Godwin away from the pressure of being the ECU head baseball coach as well. It's two different guys. And I don't know Cliff that well. We're not personal friends at all. But I just know also he's newly married. There's been a lot of changes in Cliff's life. And right now, obviously, let's be honest, this baseball team is not performing to the level that we expect as fans and Cliff expects as a coach at this moment, stand here today. Now, this could all change, and I hope that it will, and I think that it will. But right now, he's got a lot on his plate. So I'm sure this young man, hey, the kid that asked that question learned a valuable lesson last night that he's going to carry with him for the rest of his, media career of what to do and what not to do, and that's it. And nobody died, nobody got hurt, and Elvis is still dead. And we're all going to move on it. We're all going to move on.
What?
Elvis is not dead. Elvis is actually working at Walmart as a greeter in Kalamazoo, Michigan. You're dead.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to tell you guys, I wish I was wrong, but Elvis did die August 16th, 1977.
Yeah, he sure
It broke my heart when it happened, but Elvis is dead. Cliff Godwin's a great guy. Steve Logan's a great guy. And ECU was so fortunate to have such media coverage. Name me other schools, much bigger schools that don't have half the media coverage for any of the sports that the Pirates do. So we're so fortunate to have so many pros. You can start naming names, but we got some really good media members that are pros that know their stuff, and we're very lucky to have them.
Yeah, I'm getting text, Dave. I'm getting a
Power Four.
I'm sorry, Justin.
Podcast like we got here tonight. I mean, you can't count. Look, we got the Sports Agenda podcast, and you got that other podcast we don't even want to talk about. I mean, we got 3 or 4 different podcasts. You got 2 different radio shows on game days on football. I mean, we've got so much media coverage. It's not even funny.
Yep.
And go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just adding what you're saying: television, newspaper, radio, which they call traditional media. And my goodness, one of our friends, Stephen Igo, I can't say enough good about. He is awesome. I go with 24/7. He does a great job. There's all different ways, and we are literally after one thing. We want Pirate Nation. We want the Pirates to win. I want everybody in Ward Sports Medicine Building. That's what's unique about us, is that we're not the New York media, where a guy drives 5 or 10 miles over on the speed limit, and it's this big scandal that he got a ticket. We are not the gotcha media, but anyway,
I've watched a guy like my friend Philip Pilkington. I met Pilk when he was first starting in the business down here, and he has come so far.
Oh,
and he is a pro. He is
a pro.
Very good.
He's become one of the best. I mean, literally, he rode with me down to Carteret Speedway not long after he got here and first started working over at Interbanks. And Philip Pilkington has become a professional broadcaster. He's smart and he's a good dude. And he has grown so much over the last 6 or 7 years.
And you
seems like he produces everything. Like, does he ever have any off time?
He lives over at the radio ranch over at on
Oh man, and he's always yeah. Hey, I wanted, speaking of Stephen Igo, yeah, I feel like he's the heartbeat of Pirate Nation, and I don't really believe anything until I hear him say it. But I just want to bring him up because I'm getting texted by somebody that said that on Igo's show today, Stephen Igo said that question about the 13 runners left on base was the first part of a 2-part question, and that he never was given the chance to get to the second part, and that it wasn't as it appeared. So if that's the case, then maybe that reporter really didn't goof up like we assumed that he did. But I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
Personally, I don't think he goofed up at all. I just think, I thought he wanted more clarification and a little bit more detail, and that just might not have been the time for that. That was my take.
Yeah. Again, go back to read the room, I guess.
Yeah.
And you have to have, and again, and I'm not knocking anyone, but you have to have, like, let's say Alan Vick says, I'm going to ask the question about that, right? And he and I both are going to ask the question. Well, out of respect to Alan asked it before I do. So you got to be ready to either not ask a single question, or there's a whole bunch of questions you can ask Cliff that are non-baseball related, baseball related. How's the third base? I mean, there's so many things I could ask and not be, like just walk out there. I usually have things I write down and think about what I'm going to ask, but even if you don't, you know Pirate baseball well enough to, or you should, that you can walk out there. And I know can, Brian Bailey, I know can. There's so many people. I don't want to forget anybody's name, but anyway, check this out. Thank you, John. Looks like Florida gave Golden his third extension.
Very wise.
They're sewing him up.
Yep. There's one name off the list right there.
There you go.
Golden's got a little bit of baggage, but he's a damn good basketball coach.
No doubt about that. So anyway, I love that. I never criticize any AD. We got some trolls in here, so that's hilarious. If I drink the purple Kool-Aid, how come nobody talks to me now that's in administration? So anyway, that's a whole nother story. I'll let them be them. I'm good to them. I still speak to them. I have nothing against them. But I will say,
you're very balanced, Dave. I must say, you're a staunch supporter, but you recognize things that you don't agree with, and you let it be known.
If there's anybody that doesn't realize, and I'm just going to say it, what a good human being David Richmond is, that they're blind and they don't like people, and that's so. If anybody's mad with you in the Ward Sports Medicine building or whatever, they don't know you. Like I do.
What's frustrating is guys, is that my kids can tell you a lot of our entertainment dollars go to the Pirates, and I'm not looking for any special recognition, but I do get very frustrated that if I drink the Kool-Aid, then I get pats on the back. But because I'm honest, and if I see something I don't like, then I can say it. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that I have said that's positive for the administration. So
you got to remember, Dave, you're not the only one. You're not the only media member that has ever gotten ostracized or whatever. I think it's happened. It's happened. You're not the only guy that's been through this with the administration. Past, present. Yeah, you're not the only one. I don't think you're being singled out at all. At least I would hope not.
Well, I found out last week I'm on double secret probation, so maybe one of these days, those of you who love Animal House like I do. But anyway, we'll just do this little old podcast. It's funny that a lot of people, we've been doing this thing for 8 years, and they didn't even know how to handle us. They were great to us, but I don't even listen to podcasts. One of them told me, I don't know how to, do that. Anyway, and now everybody has a podcast, so I'm not knocking anybody, but we saw a way that we could do our show. I always want to do a radio show. Alan Vick was on one of the first episodes. Here we are 8 years later. We got great people like Justin Butts, who is a NWA world champion, Justin Wildfire Butts. So, and then people
appreciate it, guys.
And we've got a whole, Johnny Robertson just blew me away like early on when he would put up stats, in there. And then now he's on the show. Kyle right now, unfortunately, guys, I do have some breaking news. It looks like that Kyle may go to another podcast.
No.
So
never happened, Dave. That'll never happen. There's nobody else that has a Kyle Barber. I know he would be, coveted by other podcasts because he's so unique. But yeah, we're the only podcast that has Kyle Barber.
Kenny makes a great point. Clip Brock, who is a friend of mine, lost a job for criticizing the basketball program, and which was wrong.
Yeah, it was wrong, but Clip stuck by. I mean, I respected Clip when that whole thing went down.
There's another guy who started off as just a kid, didn't know, what from Shiola about the broadcast industry. That's become a true pro and is a go-to in Pirate Nation as far as information and whatever. He's another great example. If you work hard and do the right things and surround yourself with good people, you're going to be successful. And Clip is a great example of that.
Yeah, and don't forget.
You know what, Alan? Honestly, I told Clip this once. I don't think he believed me, but it's the honest truth. I feel like he's one of the best sports interviewers at any level on any media. I just feel like he doesn't even. He's always prepared, but he also he makes the guests so very comfortable, and it's laid back, it's fun, and you get a lot of information. So yeah. I really enjoy Clip's interviews.
Yeah, he's a D.H. Conley boy, and if you get to know Clip a little bit, he's naturally shy.
Yes, I have learned that.
You really have to get to know him, but he does a great job, like you say, putting the guest at ease and pulling things out of the interviewee. And so he does it at Pirate Radio. Is very, very fortunate to have Clip.
Yeah, Kenny is Kenny. You were like I don't know. He's the only name I recognize because I'm like him. I watch all the shows, but Kenny is one of the few that comments on all of them because he's hardcore.
And we need more Kennys. We have a lot of Kennys, but we need more Kennys out there. And I tell you what, guys, I'm really excited. This morning I woke up and I was still in shock about what happened last night. But I said, I want to talk about baseball now, Johnny, because I'm looking at the time and we try to have.
We can, yeah.
But I wanted to talk about the UTSA series because. Just as this is the way that Pirate baseball is, and I'm just going to say this, just as I'm in shock about the Duke loss last night, I can easily be shocked on Sunday that we pull out finally get the least likely. The point is the least likely sweep that we would probably normally win 2 out of 3. I could see us winning the whole thing, every single game down there.
I totally agree.
Well, they have pitching issues, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But can I bring up a stat here to close out the Duke talk? Okay, so last season after we lost to Duke, which was also the first game after our opening conference weekend series, we were 15-10, and now we're 15-10-1. We were 12-5 at home. We're 10-6 at home this year. We were 3-0 in conference last season, and we're 2-1 in conference this season. So, we're behind the 8 ball, and that last season was a struggle just to make it. And then once we made it, we proved that we were one of the better teams. But people keep saying, you can't expect to sweep all these series, but we almost have to. Now, UTSA, I'm not calling for a sweep. That's ridiculous. It would be outstanding, but I mean, obviously 1 and 2 at minimum, but 2 and 1 would certainly help us go in the right direction.
Yeah, Kyle's leaving the Sports Objective, so yeah, trolls can be trolled. Anyway, so I'm not laughing.
He must be going to that other podcast called The Boneyard.
Yeah, they have some lots of cash, so more than we can give them.
And Kyle
Well-
can be bought.
Yeah,
I think we've learned over the years Kyle can be bought. Yes,
It's
Right
more
now,
than the Queen Anne can afford. That's for sure.
he's the $1 million man. He can be bought. Everybody's got a price.
Yeah,
That is true.
We have to have one wrestling reference at least every show.
Yeah.
And I saw, by the way, my son saw I can't think of the name of that kid. They showed him grown up recently, but you remember the kid that was dribbling the basketball and he kicked it at the last second and like he went.
Yeah, when DiBiase did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex saw that a few days ago, and I told him, I said, I was watching that. It was pre-recorded, obviously, but I watched it when it happened, and it was like, I think I was like 15 when that happened. I was so mad. But anyway, so you guys, Justin, I'll let you take the floor because I've talked a lot tonight, and I didn't do it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
No, you go. What were you saying?
I was just saying I want to give you the floor because I've talked a lot. I've been fired up about basketball, and there's been a lot going on. Yeah, Kyle's look. So everybody will know Kyle's not going anywhere. Okay. Sometimes people we need a night off, and he has other things he does with his life, and so he will be. Alan is
So let me talk about the UTSA series. I think we're gonna be fine, guys. We just got to get back to Pirate baseball and doing what I call the simple things well. I think it's our pitching wise, we're down a couple of starters, but I think if our bats get hot this weekend, I think we can go out and do fine. Obviously, it's gonna be a tough task, but like I said, let's just do the simple things well and get back on the way Pirate baseball play. We're gonna be fine. And like I said, I trust in Cliff and what he's doing, and we're gonna be fine. I'm not too worried yet.
Yeah,
I know we're halfway through the season, and things look grim, but I think we're gonna be fine. I think this is the weekend we're gonna get things turned around.
It's not out of the question, Dave, because we do have pitching issues with these injuries, but they lost their Friday night guy, Robert Orlowski, early, and their pitching is terrible. Like they're just out hitting everybody. And I'm looking at the talent we have, and there's no reason why we can't hang with anybody. Like I said, everybody's been in a slump at one point or the other. We get everybody out of the slump and we can hit with anybody. And I just wanted to give a historical perspective on UTSA. They've only been in the conference 2 years, obviously, and we're 2-4 against them. We were 1-2 in Greenville, and we were 1-2 down in San Antonio in 24. But there were 2 one-run losses, and of those 4 losses, we only lost those 4 games by a total of 7 runs. So we're not overmatched by any stretch of the imagination. It's not like football where you go to San Antonio and you got no shot. I mean, it's not like that. So I feel like we can go down there.
And Johnny, we know these guys can hit. We can hit the baseball, and we can score some runs.
Absolutely, Justin. Absolutely. We're going to start.
And like I said, we just got to put the bat on the ball and do the simple things well. And we got to score runs. We got to pitch well, and we know we can do that. We've proved it in the past. We can score runs.
Yeah.
What are we 7-3 in our last 10 games? I believe that's correct. So I mean, the sky's not falling, but this weekend obviously is very important.
Pivotal. I think this is going to be a pivotal weekend for going forward.
Okay. Yeah, I mentioned last week that this would be a big week. I think so too. I think you're right, Justin. This is a big weekend. This does not going to define the season, but this could send the trajectory of the season, in a completely different direction if we go down there and perform.
Yeah. I'm just going to cover their pitching real quick because everyone knows we have pitching issues, but we do have a Friday guy, Connor Norby. And so their Friday guy, Christian Okerholm, he's got a 4.76 ERA, and last time out, he only lasted 3 innings. Now, he hadn't given up any runs after 3, so I don't know why they yanked him, but they did. And then their Saturday guy, they were sticking with Connor Kelly, but he got beat up so bad against Texas Arlington that now it's Connor Miles as their Saturday guy. His ERA is insane. Let me see. Connor Kelly is 6.86. He was the Saturday guy. Now it's the other Connor, and he's a 5.09. And then the other starter is Kendall Dove, and he's a 5.74. And last time out, he lasted 5 innings and gave up 7 earned runs. So they can be hit. I mean, we should not be afraid of them whatsoever from the pitching mound. They just don't have anybody. Their best pitcher is Sam Simmons, 1.63 ERA, 6 wins, no losses. But he's not a starter. He's never started a game. He's just he's like our Jenkins. He's like our Sean Jenkins. And that's what he's doing.
But like I say, guys, I mean, we've been in this situation before with our pitching staff. I mean, we've had guys hurt, and it's going to be pitching by committee the rest of the year. So, looking at past, I mean, Cliff Collins has been able to piece this thing together. I mean, so going forward, I mean, we're just going to have to piece this thing together and move forward. I mean, it's going to be pitching by committee the rest of the year, seems like.
Yep, this is a movie we have seen before, and you think not only Cliff, you think about Jeff Palumbo and Austin Knight. We've got one of the best coaching staffs in the country, and these guys have seen every possible scenario, good, bad, and indifferent. So I'm very confident going forward that that everything's going to be okay.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
It'll be okay.
Well,
well, people are asking why Kyle isn't here. I guess Dave doesn't mind me saying this. Kyle, for people that don't know it, Kyle is an exotic dancer, and he after 9:00 p.m. on certain nights he's busy doing his second job, which is an exotic dancer. So now you know why Kyle's not here tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting into that myself for a little extra money. We'll see what happens.
All right, can we pivot here?
Please do.
Go ahead.
So, I was just going to say, in addition to the pitching injuries that we're currently experiencing, we also 2 left-handers that we thought were going to be contributors, and actually Gabe Beschloss was a contributor last year, even in the Conway Regional. He just has not been able to get healthy, and Dawson Neal is another left-hander that is he's just not able to get healthy either. And I'm sure that they feel bad about not being able to help us, but hopefully one or both of them at some point can get healthy, but probably a red shirt for Dawson Neal, I would think, at this point.
Yeah, I think so too.
And we talk about depth. And thank goodness, with the injuries, we do have depth.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that depth is getting really, when you see, okay, let me put it this way. And this is I don't want this to sound like I'm anti-Alex Boucher, because I'm a huge Alex Boucher guy. But when you're playing at Duke and you're trying to hold a 1-run lead and you got Alex Boucher as your right-hander warming up in the bullpen, he's not a pitcher. I mean, he does his best. He pitched against Penn, but that shows you what our depth is. If we're down to Alex Boucher, and I hate myself for even saying that, because it sounds like I'm demeaning his ability. And I guarantee you, he is a fantastic pitcher. But it's just at this level, I don't think that's who you need to count on in the 9th inning of a 1-run lead. So the other pitcher warming up was the left-hander Luke Payne, and I do believe that Luke Payne will be we'll be talking about Luke Payne in the future. He's got great stuff. He came from Tennessee. He just hasn't been able to dial in yet, but I know he's not far away. So there's good stuff on the horizon. Oh, and one more thing, Colby Wallace. Colby came into some really, really high leverage situations last year. He came in, he faced 5 batters with bases loaded last season, gave up no runs, no walks, no hits, struck out 1, got himself a save. So Colby we haven't seen him because I don't think they want to, take him off at third base. But as more, pitching injuries develop, I just feel like Colby's going to have to be a piece going forward, just to give us an inning here or an inning there.
I agree wholeheartedly. Like I say, piecing it together. I mean, you hate to use that terminology. That's what's happening right now. We're having to piece some things together we didn't anticipate, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Hey, another thing, maybe that'll stimulate his home run hitting. He got his first home run last week, but last season, Colby homered 5 times in games where he had a mound appearance, where he pitched. So maybe like getting out there on the mound gets him, I don't know, going, because like I said, 5 times he pitched and hit a home run. So I'm looking forward. I do think Colby's going to be a contributor down the stretch. Not huge innings, but here and there.
Kenny says pro baseball is back, guys. Go Braves and all the Pirates and the pros. One of the things I was going to talk about tonight, but we can talk about at a later date, is the lockout. Something I'm just going to mention because it looks like that. My point is we better enjoy baseball this season, and hopefully they can get their act together between the owners and the players. The owners want more of a salary cap, but that's just not going to happen. We'll see how it all plays out. But it was one of the things in the roundtable with DG I was going to talk about, but with all the stuff that we had going on swirling today, that was kind of not needed to talk about. You know what I mean? So
yeah, we've had a lot of breaking news, and guys, I keep hearing now that Will Wade to LSU is pretty much a done deal.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And like I said, Lane Kiffin will be at the airport to greet him.
Alan is accepting the job at NC State as the next basketball coach. So we want some at the Lenovo Center. We want great tickets. We want great tickets for concerts, Hurricanes games, all that. Alan Vick.
Yeah,
personal sports objective.
Yeah, the circus. Seriously, I do have an uncle who is very high up in the Wolfpack Club, and he hasn't been a source for any of this, but that's where I get my if I need tickets, that's where I go.
Well, can he be my uncle too?
Yeah, well, yeah, he could be everybody. He could be the sports objective uncle. Yes.
There you go. The uncle.
For everybody. Absolutely.
Everybody's crazy uncle on TSO.
That's right.
What about you? What about you, Justin? Don't you think that would be great to go to some concerts and
man.
Yeah, you hear his commercials on Wolfpack broadcast, by the way.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep. I didn't know it about 4 years ago. I flipped the radio on to listen to something, and there was my uncle doing a commercial on the NC State broadcast, and I was like, "Geez, man, that was pretty cool." But we have been deluged, guys, with breaking news over the last couple of days, all over the place. Major League Baseball starts tonight. Yankees and Giants are playing right now on Netflix.
That's right.
Yeah,
Barry Bonds is on Netflix, right?
There's a lot going on right now. Hey, by the way, happy birthday to Mackenzie a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And Alex just had a birthday. And breaking news.
Birthday to them guys.
Yeah, my daughter and son will be home this weekend, and my daughter just got her first job, like out of college job. She is going to be working.
Oh man.
Yep.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember when she was at Ridgewood School.
Yeah, we just found out today that she's accepted a position in Greensboro. And let's put it this way, she's making a hell of a lot more money than her daddy.
That's a good thing.
Get out of your pocket, right?
Yeah, that's a good thing. She's going to be graduating with her master's May the 7th, and then she'll start her new gig. So now I know where to go if I need a loan.
There you go.
There you go.
Quickly.
There you go.
Yeah, payday advance loans for.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm very proud. I'm very proud of Kendall and Jared. They look like their mama and they act like their mama, so that's a good thing all the way around.
There you go.
More like you.
No, they look and act like their mother, and they have their mother's brains as well, which is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, Jamie.
There you go.
I will give you definitely. Give you that for sure. Do you guys, I tell you what, it's been a wild ride, but it's gone by extremely fast. I guess it has been like a roller coaster, but we're going to look and see how things turn out with the basketball searches, plural, I guess, in the triangle. We'll see how things come out with we'll know who's in by Sunday night when we do this show. We'll know who's in the Final Four, I believe, off the top of my head. And we'll find out who, I guess, Alan, somebody's going to be driving to Indianapolis next weekend. We'll see. But
I guess they'll be practicing in Indy. I mean, because next week is April.
Yeah.
Think about that. I mean, this year is just flying by.
I'm telling you what.
It is, too. I tell you, having a teenager and a soon-to-be teenager, next year with Mackenzie. So pray for me. But thankfully, they're good kids. They really are.
Dave, I'm in the same boat, brother. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, I can't speak because I don't really know Justin's kids that well, but I can say this. I know he's a good dad, and Dave, you're a super father, and you should be very proud.
Thank you. Can I get that in writing?
No, I agree. I agree.
Me too, Dave.
I can get you some crayons. We'll get it in writing if you need it.
Please do.
Yeah. The two left squares. We need something in writing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
but I mentioned when you went away, Dave, that Kyle's not here tonight because he's an exotic dancer for a little extra money. So
I could have gone the rest of my life not having that visual.
What happens is he comes out and people throw money at him to put his clothes back on as quickly as possible. Yeah.
Well, we're just bitter because he's leaving the show, and so we actually, guys, I did find out. I heard from his agent just a little bit ago. I had to step away. He will make a decision next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, he will tell us if he's going to be on the show or not.
Yeah, that's when his buyout goes down to a couple of million.
It does.
Some people may think you're serious, though, Dave. Kyle's not going anywhere.
Good. No. I want him to. They troll us all the time. Kyle is leaving the show. I hate it. I don't want him to leave, but we just don't have the money to pay the dude anymore. I mean,
I'm going with him. Sorry.
I tried.
Justin had tried to give him on the Queen's Hand the truck.
I've tried.
Hey, I want to do that, Justin. By the way,
can you take a couple?
Can I do that?
Yeah, you just
let me know. Road trip. I want to go to a road game in the Queen Anne's Revenge.
Just come on. We'll have a live broadcast for the Queen's Anne's Revenge.
Oh man, I'm telling you, that would fill one of my what do they call that, bucket list things?
Fantasies or whatever. Yeah,
I could cross it off the list.
We're gonna, hey, me and Dave are gonna work on that next year. We're gonna do a live for the Queen Anne's Revenge. We're gonna do it.
Oh wow, okay. I want to do that, and I want to go down to the racetrack, Alan.
Yeah,
maybe for Confederate Railroad, maybe for that concert, but I want to see a race too.
Yep, you have an open invitation, and Confederate Railroad is May 30th. So hopefully we can all make it down there and have a good time.
Hey,
awesome.
I'm gonna get down to the Carteret County. Yeah, we're gonna do that. There's a speedway. Yeah.
Alan, do you have anything that he could drive around the track a little bit?
Yeah, we do have some of those little kiddie cars. They're like big wheels. Remember the old big wheel? And I think Johnny would look great driving a big wheel.
Yeah. Hey, Alan, hold on a minute. Hey, Jeffrey Earnhardt.
Can I take the Queen? Can I take the Queen Anne around the Carteret? Get us away.
Yeah. What is that? It's a 4/10 mile, right?
Yeah, it's 4/10 paved.
Let me tell you.
I don't know the Queen Anne. Take up the whole backstretch.
Yeah, I was going to say your lap times will be like 37 minutes and 22 seconds.
Hey, I did see that Jeffrey Earnhardt rents out the track and has you can do 10 laps for $99 in a super modified, or not the super I guess it would be the late model or the super late model.
You drive like a Ferrari or something around a speedway. I forgot.
No, if it's Jeffrey Earnhardt, it's going to be a Chevrolet. First of all, I can tell you that.
It's the Alan Vick series. He hasn't told you, but he's got a plethora of luxury vehicles that he doesn't care. He has so much money, he doesn't even care if they get wrecked.
Yeah, I got a 71 Plymouth Duster that I'll let you drive around the track.
Nice. Have you known anybody that's done that though?
For the Earnhardt, no, but there's a lot of people that have taken laps.
Our friend Mark Carson has been on the show from
But 5 laps on 4/10 of a mile. I mean, you would just be able to figure out the track, and your time would be up. You know what I'm saying?
Rusty Wallace had a racing experience, and some people did the Rusty Wallace racing experience at Carteret.
Okay.
I did that at Carteret, Rusty Wallace experience. I did.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
The super late model is like almost 600 horsepower, right? Like
I mean that's incredible around a 4/10 of a mile.
And the cars weigh they're very light.
The guy who drove me was Jeffrey Labonte. Was the guy who drove me.
What? What's Labonte?
Jeffrey Labonte, Terry Labonte's son.
Was it Justin Labonte? Justin.
Yeah, there
Labonte.
you go. There you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Justin Labonte.
Yeah.
Justin Labonte. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
the one I rode with.
Yeah.
From Corpus Christi, Texas.
Yeah, and Bobby Race is with us. You know, Jeremy Mayfield has been with us. A lot of names that you'd recognize. Donnie Allison comes every year and signs autographs. We do a Davey Allison Memorial every year. The track actually, when it was built and with some of Junior Johnson's help.
Yeah.
Therefore, the Moonshine restaurant.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly right. But I'd love to have you guys down, and I guarantee you'll have a good time.
I definitely want to go.
Definitely would like to come down.
If they say TSO, do they get a discount coming in, or can you?
Hey, we'll work it out. All we need is an announcer that's worth a damn.
We got that
day.
I know one.
Hey, Alan, does Jeremy Mayfield still race?
Yes. Actually,
Awesome.
There's two things. Jeremy's running in the Grand National Super Series and winning, and he's also got a brand new podcast that has just dropped.
Jeremy Mayfield,
he was winning in the Cup
National a couple times.
Right.
And then when that whole situation happened, unfortunately. But I remember him in the RCA car with the dog.
Yeah, that's when Cale Yarborough owned that car. He also drove for Michael Kranifus in the 37 car, and then went with Roger Penske in the 12 car and won some races. And then Ray Evernham towards the end of his career, and then he did his own thing for a year, and then all that stuff happened. Which we could get into that sometime. But
I'd always rooted for him. He's a Kentucky guy, right?
Yeah, Jeremy Mayfield. I've been around him just a half a dozen times, and I got to tell you guys, he's a super nice guy, and I've never seen any evidence that there was anything going on with Jeremy at all. As far as
people change, He's a good dude. His wife Shayna's a nice lady, and Jeremy still got it. He can still drive. And, awesome.
Yeah, he's racing with us a couple times a year.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm not laughing at what you said. Just the trolls.
Come on, Dave. Share some of it.
Yeah,
come on, Dave.
Man, you gotta have no life to troll the show. I mean, hey, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your life?
What is the platform that they're trolling? Facebook or YouTube?
YouTube. It says, "Good luck to it all, Kyle. We miss and love you. Too bad they won't pay you."
It must be that Pitt Panther broadcast there.
Yeah. What was that? JJ Kitchen.
Yeah, that's JJ. It must be JJ Kitchen going at it.
Well, too bad, so sad. We're gonna get out of here, guys. Do you have any final thoughts as we go around the round table? I'll start with Wildfire.
No, hey, look, guys. I appreciate you guys having me on. Let's go get them this weekend. It's UTSA's big pivotal series, and let's go get them. Let's go get these guys.
JR Stats.
No, I agree with Justin. Give them hell in San Antonio. We need payback for the football debacle. And
you're damn right.
And they think they're the top of the cock of the walk, or whatever you want to call it, and the American. And we're going to put them in their place and show them that they are not. They have not arrived yet. It's still the Pirates, and we'll make that point this weekend.
Pirates and Alan Vick, what say you?
I predict the Pirates will do the.
What's going on? I'm hearing myself again.
The Pirates will do the San Antonio stroll.
Oh, nice.
Down there.
Tanya,
and we'll be back Sunday.
Are we doing the Texas two-step?
Well, Tanya Tucker did the San Antonio stroll, And we'll be talking Sunday night about good news as far as Pirate baseball is concerned.
We will.
Yes,
I am predicting Johnny Robertson is going to get out a broom on Sunday night. Just
bring out the fleet, baby.
Get the brooms out. Go ahead and buy a broom this weekend.
Yeah.
Get them ready.
Or at least a power mop.
Yeah.
I swear. All right, guys. I guess we went 2 out of 3. Is that a Swiffer? And that's not an actual mop.
There you go.
As Meatloaf once said, 66.6666 ain't bad. So
2 out of 3 ain't bad. That's right. Good luck to the Pirates. Have a safe trip down to San Antonio. Get that sweep. Get the brooms, and fly back. And we'll see you on Sunday night. And if it's Sunday night, you know that it's the extra innings right here on the Sports Objective. Good night, everybody. And as always, go Pirates.
You're watching the Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.